Jeremy, when it comes to change in the workplace, some people react favourably and are very positive. Some, on the other hand, not so much, perhaps. How do you deal with a negative or just a bad attitude towards change? I'll give you an example. So let's picture a meeting going on, and then someone over there to your left would be the only person you notably see is sat there with their arms crossed and disengaged and eyes are faced down, maybe a bit of a sour look on their face. How do you tackle that?
Yeah, what you're describing is what I call the passive aggressive individual, and I think they do represent quite a challenge. The worst thing that you can do is to meet with them and to launch a subjective attack on them. You're always so negative. You never collaborate or contribute to others' views and opinions. This launching of a subjective attack on the person is likely to result in a defensive reaction,
it's
which
counterproductive,
which is certainly not what you want. So, separate the behaviour from the individual and focus on the behaviour. So instead you might say, Mary, I'd like to talk about the behaviours I observed at the last team meeting, and in particular you sat with your arms folded, you had no eye contact with me or anybody else, you frequently looked at your watch, and you showed to me, and I believe to others, a complete disinterest in what we were talking about. Do you agree that's how you behaved? Now, if it's couched in those terms, it's more likely than not that they have to agree. If they don't, you use 2 or 3 more examples which you have up your sleeve to show that you have noticed this behaviour and it's becoming more of a routine behaviour. Do you see what I mean? So what we're wanting them to do is, point 1, agree that this is where they're behaving.
To the facts, agree to the facts. Yes,
agree to the facts which you've observed and you've perhaps written down beforehand. That's really important. Then, if they agree, you say, well, tell me what's behind your behaviours. Why are you coming across in this way? And there may be a whole variety of reasons, which I can't go into now clearly, but you have to sort of sieve those in terms of valid, not valid, and ask more questions to try and get down to the valid reasons for them displaying those behaviours. And you can then summarise and say, so really you're behaving like this because, and hopefully again you get agreement to that. Then you ask them what they are going to do about changing. They need to be accountable for their behaviours. So you'd ask the question, so what would you recommend to me that you do to change these behaviours to the ones that we've been talking about would be more positive? Do you see how important that is? Chances are, if I, as the manager, give my views as to what they need to do differently, they will disagree and say, no, I couldn't do that, or no, that won't work for me. Very important that you draw out from them their ideas. You can then support their ideas. If they're not good ideas, you can then add your own, or maybe suggest some other insights. Collectively, come up with a game plan for them to improve those behaviours with whatever that entails. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So that you can then, in a concrete, tangible way, nail the way forward. Then agree to meet with them again, give them feedback. Hopefully their behaviours have changed and you can praise them and you can recognise them. If they haven't, then you give them the feedback again, that there's still an issue, there's still a problem, and you go back again and ask them what they're going to do. And then inevitably comes a time when maybe you have to invoke a disciplinary process because you realise you're dealing with their will and not their skill.
Okay.
And they don't want to, and they never will change, and therefore there needs to be consequence, and then you have to invoke that consequence. But only using your critical judgment when you feel that you've gone as far as you can and the time is then right for that. Make sense?
That's perfect, thank you.